you're listening from or tuned in from, I'd like to welcome you to LKM Kingdom Living Leslie's Lessons Learned. My name is Leslie Montgomery, and I am one of the hosts, and Minister Wanda Floyd is the other host. And we're just happy that you're here today. We are going to get started, Um, yeah, we are going to get started today. Let's get started. So today, so today, welcome, as I said, and Leslie, what is it? Leslie's Lessons Learned is um, a broadcast that we do every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And we're fortunate to have Minister Wanda, which is 6 a.m. Was a Mountain
PST Pacific Standard Time.
CST Pacific Standard Time. And we're just happy to be here today. As we're going to be talking today about harmful words that affect our own selves, what we do to our own selves, and how we allow words to affect us, affect us. And we're just so happy to be here. One of the things that we do from Sunday to Sunday is we talk about relationships, we talk about faith, we talk about um, loving yourself, we talk about relationships, we talk about health, we talk about all those things that help us grow and become more complete. I'm going to say more complete, that Yahweh has created us to do and be. Greetings as you all enter the room. We thank you so much for being here. Minister Wanda, let me get my mirror for one thing. And I'm just so grateful that you're here. But while I'm getting my mirror, which is somewhere here, introduce yourself.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Might even be evening in some parts of the world. My name is Wanda L. Floyd. I am a licensed professional hair care cosmetologist, hairstylist, beautician. Now we call ourselves hair care professionals, right? I am an instructor and educator. I am a hair loss practitioner. I am also a mom, and I do some things in ministry. Uh, I have a few little things going on, nothing much, but I'm just happy to be here with you, Miss Leslie.
I'm happy that you are here. Oh, that's right. Dr. Mathis was not able to be with us today, but she will join us soon. Uh, so I just wanted to put that out there. And before we go any further, let me say happy or have a blessed Father Day to all our fathers out there that are, you have some that are really trying to do their best, and some that are doing their best, and some that just aren't. But either way, to those that have committed to being a father, committed to doing the job of a father. I was reading something today, and it said something about uh, being you can birth a child and you can bring a child into the world, but to be a father, it takes commitment. It takes let me see if I can kind of find it. Yeah. It takes a man to make a child, but a king provides, nourishes, supports, and love his royalty bloodline. And that's something that I think that we need to recognize, that there's a lot of fathers out there that's doing good. You know, you hear people say a lot of times, there ain't no good men out there. So don't say that, because that means ain't them no good women out there either. And I'm a good woman. So yeah, you need to change your words. You just not have ran. They're looking for good women, just like good women are looking for good men, and they are out there. And we just want to acknowledge you today and say thank you so much for what you do. They say Mother's Day is every day, but Father's Day is too. Father's Day is every day too. And we just want to acknowledge you and say blessings upon you and hope that you have an amazing day and that you are celebrated. It's easy on Father's Day to go into a restaurant and not have to wait, you know, and Mother's Day, you got to wait, you got to sit around, you got to make reservations and all those different things. And my grandfather used to always get on us. Yeah, you do this for your grandmom, you do that for your grandfather, and you bring me this old slipper and stuff like that, and you go all out, whole outfits and stuff like that. And I think it's just because mothers are in the home. Fathers mostly are out there working, mothers in the home, and society has, kind of made it that way, that yay, rah, rah, the mom, and not so much rah, rah for the father, but we do celebrate you today. And we're just so grateful because I know without a father, I wouldn't have been here. So I never knew my father, but he did his job. He brought me into the world. Because of him, I'm here. And it is when you have a different perspective when you realize that they all had a role. If it was just to bring you into the world, they did that. If it was to take care of you, they did that. If it was for a stepdad to step in and take care of you and provide for you, then that's what it is. It doesn't mean that you have to be a biological father, but it does mean that you love beyond yourself. So, as I said, thank you so much for all that you do and for being able to be called a father. So, I don't know if you want to say anything, Minister.
I do.
Go ahead.
No, Father's Day is such an amazing day. And I think the only thing that sometimes gets to me is that when it comes to Mother's Day, you never hear anybody say, anything negative when it comes to Mother's Day, right? When there's just as equally as many mothers that have not stepped up
Yes,
to the role to be mother or was a horrible mother
that's
because
right.
they just didn't know how. But that's never mentioned during Mother's Day. We just thank all the mothers in the world because nobody could do it like you, right? But what I'd like to say about Father's Day is that they are the pillar of our homes and our communities. And even in the Bible, that's some of our first examples of fathers and them stepping in and doing what they were supposed to do, how they were the strength of the family, how they covered the family, how they provided for the family. And I just want to thank the fathers because, like you said, where would we be without them? Without the man coming together with the woman, none of us would exist. So we thank you for your place in this earth. You are our strength. You are our covering. You are our provider. You teach us the things that we do not know. There are so many women that can change tires and change oil and can paint and are carpenters and electricians and all of these things because the father was like, yeah, I don't want you to be out there, little girl, and not know how to change your tire or not know how to change your oil or not know how to fix some electrical things. So, fathers, today, no negative words. We just thank you all over the world. Today, we celebrate you. And like Prophetess Leslie said, we shouldn't allow these man made holidays to stipulate to us when we are to celebrate someone. Your dad is in your life, whether you feel that they came the way they should or they're presenting themselves in your lives the way they should. Just thank them, love on them, let them know that you appreciate them, not just today, but as often as you think about them. Miss Leslie.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's so good. And when I look in my mirror today, I want to thank Yahweh because He created me. He knew that when my mother and father got together, what I was going to look like. And I appreciate the fact. And they tell me that my father's name was Saint Clair Calendar. Thank you, thank you, Saint Clair Calendar, for allowing yourself to be used to bring me into the world for such a powerful time as this. Go ahead, Minister Wanda.
So
I see
today,
you
when I
ready.
look in my mirror, I'm sure I probably do look like my father and my mother. But being adopted, I don't know who he is. So I thank him for um, allowing me to be here. But to my father, um, Melvin E. Floyd, and then my dad, I'm blessed. I have two fathers, Carl E. McCready. Um, when I look at myself, I see the lessons that they instilled in me from a little girl and even to adulthood. And I'm grateful for the lessons that they shared because it has literally shaped me to the woman that I am today. And when Melvin Floyd passed, Carl McCready stepped up and he's still there shaping me,
Amen.
sending me real estate classes and all of these things, my biggest supporter. So when I look in that mirror, that's who I see. Two men that stood behind me and made me the woman I am today.
Amen. Now, like I said, I never knew my father, but my stepfather, which I never called my stepfather, came in and he raised me, as well. And I do appreciate the fact that he adopted me, I have his last name, he's no longer here, but he did take care of me and provide for me. And I appreciate that time that he did pour into me. Oh my God, we used to hate it when we would come home and our report cards was not A. He would go pull out all his report cards and show us how he was in the honor roll, and he would just lecture us. And I was like, oh my God, But when I look back at it now, because he was a lecturer, oh my God, we got lectured about everything, but he was trying to teach us. And sometimes you don't realize things until you're an adult, until you have children, until you find in like, oh my God, I sound like him or something like that. But I do appreciate it because I would not be sitting here today, you know, if it was not for a father, my father, So I'm grateful to all the men. And as we say every Sunday, a life without me is like a world without color. And I'm not supposed, that's right, Minister Wanda's supposed to be doing that for now.
No, you did it right. So yeah, you got
So join us and say that because it's a privilege to be here. You can look at all the negative things and find a way to see. And that's what we'll be talking about today. How it's not, why do you say it's a privilege? It is a privilege and an honor. And say it with us. A life without you or me is like a world without color. We need you. We need you to blossom. We need you to shine. We need you to be all that you have created to be. The word tells us it's in different parts, but it says we created to be all that He calls us to be, to do all that He calls us to do, and to have all that He calls for us to have. And I got it a little twisted, but that's the brunt of it. You're here with a purpose. You're here for a purpose. And that when you begin to recognize that your life is valuable, then you'll begin to see the colors of the world. You begin to see things different. And I want to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuned in from, or should I say just good day to each and every one of you. I see Minister Michelle Grace. I see uh, Alfreda. I see my sister. Hey, Linda. I see my daughter, Adrian. Hey, Adrian. I see Sister Linda. I see Pastor Jackie. There's many of you that I see, and those that I don't see. We just thank you for being here. If you have not hit that like sign, if you have not subscribed or share, please do so now. We would appreciate it. I'm trying to move it up. I don't want to move up so I can see who else is on. But Minister Wanda, if we think about our lives, if we think about how we have, oh, hey, London, my granddaughter's on. Can you hear me now?
I can. I was like, is it me or you?
It was like, am I frozen? It was like, it
I was
said
like, is
that
it me or you? I was getting ready to go out.
it's me. It was me. Oh my gosh. So when you think about words that you said to yourself or you believed
Yeah.
of yourself, and how it has really created or um, shaped your life. And when I think of, I, I can say growing up, I had more negative thoughts than I had positive. That nothing was right about me. Everybody was bad. And some of these things I still have to deal with, I still struggle with. Um, but growing up to be in a place that you think that you're not worth anything or everybody else is better than you is a very hard place to be. And yesterday I was sitting and I was thinking about some of those things and I started to repent because I was like, Father, I didn't recognize what I was doing to myself. I didn't recognize how I was destroying my own image by my own thoughts. You know, the image that you have of yourself, people don't always see that image until you show it. And I remember a lot of times of being in a place where I was intimidated, so I was afraid to be who I was. I was afraid to be who I was. So, with me being afraid to be who I was, sometimes I responded very negatively, just almost crazy, you know. And I think about people that today that operate that way, but that because of what they've been through and how they see themselves. But most people just say, "Oh, they're just crazy. They just this," and it's not. It's a cry for help. And I was just thinking about that, yesterday, and not for about anybody else, but about myself and what I really allowed to structure my life after. And my life was structured after mostly negative. Oh yeah, I smiled. Oh yeah, I pressed through. But on the inside, when I first got saved back in the day, mothers, they were so in tune with prayer that they knew when something wasn't right with you, and they're like, baby, come on, let's get this together. Or they would talk to you. You don't have that much today. You don't have, everybody is in their own world. Everybody's trying to just make it. And there's a lot of people that are out here that see themselves in a negative light because they are not in a place where there's someone there to speak into their lives or say anything to them. I don't know if you wanted to say something.
No,
Uh,
it's true. Um, I'm a victim of myself as well. I literally am, and mine started with in childhood. Um,
yeah.
my negative outlook on myself was in childhood. Um, the things that I said about myself, whether I said them out loud or I was thinking them in my mind, I did it to myself. Some of it was caused by the things that were said to me. Some of it was caused by the way I was treated by people and other children my age. Um, some of it was caused by my parents, unknowingly to them. And it imparted and planted negative things that I felt and thought about myself. And some of them would come out verbally.
Right.
Like you tell us to look in the mirror all the time and see what we see because you want us to see the good, the beautiful things. You want us to see ourselves the way that Yahweh actually sees us. But that wasn't my case growing up. I didn't like what I saw in the mirror. All I saw was something negative. Even today, it can be, and I can admit it, it is very hard at times to take a compliment. Most
Yeah.
times, we don't see what other people see. I still suffer from the negative things that I saw when I looked in the mirror. Now, have I gotten better? Yes, but it is literally have been a struggle for me all my life. And because of the negative things that I said, how harmful words affect your life, because of the negative things that I said about myself, because of the negative things that I thought about myself, it literally has shaped and affected my life.
It does. Yeah, it does. And to think the things that I even used to think about myself. And um, it's just more than a notion, I guess I can say, because we do shape ourselves by our thoughts, by what we think, and by what people say. And people say things, and like you said, parents unknowingly say things. They say things out of their own pain and hurt. And then you look in the mirror and you see what they say, not the positive, but the negative. And then you grow up with those things. You grow up sometimes thinking you're stupid. You grow up sometimes thinking you're a misfit. I remember one day, like you said, the children in school. Children in school are vicious. They are really vicious and they're mean, And I remember coming home crying one day and I was like, they said I was adopted, but I didn't know it. But my father, he didn't say that. He pulled my birth certificate out and he said, whose name is on this birth certificate? And he was like, you're not adopted. Don't listen to those children. But they would say all manner of things, whatever come to their mind, just and they thought it is funny, but it wasn't funny. They don't realize how they are harming lives, the other children's lives. And just to think that even to the simplest of liking a boy in class and he doesn't like you, he likes the other girl, and then you begin to think something's wrong with you, and you think that you
Yeah.
just don't have what it takes. Go ahead, you're supposed to say
No,
something.
I'm just agreeing with you. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Like I said, it starts from childhood, like you said. You liking a boy? Remember we used to fold up the letters. You get a little letter, and you will you be my girlfriend or do you like me? Check yes, check no. All of those, and not getting those letters,
Yeah.
or if you do get a letter, and you think you got a little boyfriend, but he good with you until somebody make fun. That's your girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then you don't have no you don't have a boyfriend anymore. You know. Um, yeah, yeah, all of that.
All of that.
All
Hmm.
shape you, make you feel like you said nobody likes me, or I know for me, I had one little boyfriend, and we were good. I think the past couple, maybe fifth, sixth grade. He could come over to my house. I could come over to his house. And then when we got to junior high school, he broke up with me to go with this little fast tail girl that had hips and was fast. I remember like it was yesterday. He broke up with the fast tail girl, right? And so what does that do? Because she's more experienced and all of that. So you lose your little boyfriend. That starts to mess with your esteem. And can I tell you from that point on, like literally having a boyfriend in my life has not been one of those things that I can say I was easy. I was the one that always had a boyfriend. It wasn't, and
Mm.
you start to question from childhood. You start to question, well, am I good enough? Am I pretty enough? What's wrong with me? Why do the guys like all of my friends? All of my friends
Yeah.
have boyfriends. How come I don't have a boyfriend? How come no one's interested in me? You start to think those things and say those things, and they affect your life.
They shape it. Yeah. I think about even, I was very skinny. My mother had to make my clothes, most of my clothes. Very rarely, my clothes was bought. Well, that's what they did back then anyway. So, and I remember I had, you know how you have girlfriends and stuff, and you switch out clothes and stuff. And my girlfriend was having a party, and I shouldn't have let it affect me. And I was coming around the corner, and I heard them saying, "Girl, that outfit look a whole lot better on you than Leslie." It was my outfit. My mom had made it for me, but she was shapely, and just that, and going out with my cousins and friends and stuff, and the guys would be all over them, and I'd be like, what am I, chopped liver? They weren't interested in me. But all those things, and it might seem like, what they talking about today, but we're talking about life and those things that shape you. And as you become an adult, those things still harm you if you don't deal with them. And it's important that we deal with those things. And a lot of times parents will say, "Oh, don't pay those kids no mind," when they say certain things in school and stuff like that. They don't know what they're talking about. But it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. Yeah, they might not know what they're talking about, but how do I deal with it? How do I deal with it?
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
that's good because even now, children are still, like you said, very, very cool, very, very cool, right? And my parents, they were older parents, um, and so my mom, when I was little, they were good about buying clothing and stuff. But by the time I got to like the sixth grade, and now I'm going into junior high school, my dad had nothing to do with the shopping or anything. It was all on my mom.
Right.
And the purchasing clothes for school, when school would start, you get a whole little new wardrobe. Well, that wasn't happening for me. I got more of clothes when I was little, maybe, I would say kindergarten to about third, maybe fourth grade. By the time I
Wow.
got to the fifth grade and up, that purchasing of clothes for you stopped.
Wow.
And it used to be embarrassing in school. I might have one or two pair of jeans and a few little shirts, and you trying to recycle them and fix them around and all of that. In the meantime, my best friend, she got a big family, and they always buying for her, right? And kids would make fun of me. I'm calling them kids because they was kids, little goats. Um,
Right.
they they would make fun of me. So junior high school was hard for me, and
Mm.
um, that's how I started doing my hair and trying to learn how to braid. And we had these girls, the Haley sisters, love them to this day. And do you know that I follow a couple of them? One of them ended up being a hairstylist, but they were
Wow.
one of the baddest braiders in Oakland at the time. And they were a set of sisters, and they would French braid these amazing French braided styles. And I would try, and now they was also you didn't mess with them either because they could
We
whoop
didn't
you,
play.
right? And so, but they were what we call mean, and that's the other thing. We don't know why people are the way they are. We don't know what they're
Right.
going through at home, what they're facing, and then they grow up to be wonderful people, you know.
Thinking
And
about that. Yeah.
yeah, they grow up to be wonderful people. But I taught myself to French braid, and so I would do these little styles on my head that I thought I was proud of with my little beads and learning how to put extensions in. And they was like, "You really gonna wear your hair like that? You finished?" And I was like, "Oh, words can shape you." But I'm grateful that even though that hurt, even though them talking about me, my clothes, um, that didn't have the negative effect on me. That just made me want to learn to do hair even better.
There's a difference, right?
Right. And when I got to high school, the clothing, um, my best friend and I, um, she would help me, get little things. We started learning how to shop, thrift shop, and things like that. That's why I love fashion the way I do now because of being teased as a little girl of what I didn't have and how my hair looked. So I would work even harder. So we're still talking about how harmful words can shape your life because in that instance, them teasing me about my clothes and talking about how I tried to do my hair just shaped me in a way where I wanted to be better. Oh, you
Yeah.
talking about my hair? Okay, watch this. I'm gonna really learn how to do some hair. And I honestly, if I put my mind to it, I probably could style some people if I wanted to, because I love fashion so much. It made me study fashion, the different looks, the different eras, because I was teased, you know.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good point. But let me say this first because I do want to go back to that because everything is not harmful. Some things come to make you better, but there's a lot of things that we take as harm and it's not. It's just to make us better.
That's
Uh, Ashley and I was having a conversation the other day, and she said, I used to hate when your friends, because they would give them, like you said, clothes that their children wore, and they were like new clothes, they were name brand clothes and stuff, but she hated it because in her eyes, it was like, it made us like we couldn't buy clothes and stuff like that. I was like, Ashley, and she's like, nope. And till today, she don't try to give her not one thing, iota thing,
I
but
love
we don't know what affects children differently, and that's that was one of the things we did. Oh, my children can't wear this anymore.
Yeah,
You
you pick
want it?
somebody else. Yeah. Now
She
I didn't
hated it.
like it because there was a lady in my neighborhood. Her daughter, she had a daughter, and they gave me um, some clothes, and I was like, okay. Now we weren't, low income or anything like that.
Right.
They was just really frugal with the money, very very frugal with the money, and I didn't like it because then I was out. Oh look, you look cute in my dress.
Really?
You girl, that's my old stuff. That was when I stopped taking stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but as I got old, as an adult, I had family friends that would pass, because she loved to shop, like you said, name brand, all these wonderful clothes. Shoot, that's how I took care of Aaliyah, Gigi, and Dee. We passed that stuff down because it was great clothes. That's what we started doing again within families. Okay, this was the baby's clothes. So somebody had a baby, you give them all your clothes because they
Right.
don't wear them anymore. So
And babies,
yeah,
this stuff is like new anyway, because you get so much stuff they might wear it twice, maybe. And some stuff still have tags and stuff on it because they never get to wear it.
right, right.
Mhm.
So it's mindset, but things like that, I get what Ashley's saying. I really do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank goodness that the people that was giving us clothes we didn't see all the time. 'Cause I'm sure that would have been devastating for her. But yeah, um, uh, Sister um, Dana, ooh, she said that she's worked with all groups, and she said, in her opinion, the middle schools are the meanest, and that's something, the middle schools are the meanest. Mm. But yeah, middle school,
That's
they
interesting.
have a whole different.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think it's because you're coming from elementary, right? And now you got bigger, you have older children there, so you're trying to fit in there. And I think that's like that. I know we at that adolescence when right before you getting ready to you're going through some
Yeah.
puberty and things
Oh yeah.
like that. Yeah, we was jacked up. Yeah, we basically, yeah. Mindset just jacked up. They are some of the meanest children. That's where I got most of my hurt from children in middle school. Absolutely
Yeah.
the truth.
Wow. Um, I didn't have. Only thing I remember was this young lady that liked my boyfriend, and she did everything to try to take him, and he wouldn't go with her. I seen her as an adult, and do you know she still would not talk to me? I was like, "Oh, we for real?" She still would not talk to me, and I had nothing to do with it. He could have went with her, but he just didn't, and she did not like me because of that. So it's just weird, the things that you experience as a young person going into your adulthood. But I think that also, one of the things that happens is that when you become an adult and having dealt with it, then it begins to show up differently. And in that showing up differently, a lot of times people dislike you. A lot of times people are not don't want to be with you because you're hurting from something that happened years ago and you haven't even connected the dots to it, you know, and you just know that you're hurting and you're going through, but you don't even know why, what's really taking place. What is it that caused me to act the way I do? And whenever you start to do a checklist or evaluate yourself, you always find out that you go back to childhood, and that's where the stem of it's from. So we have this little root that now grows up to a big tree. So now it has to be pruned from all the old things so
I
that
think
the
the
new
trees
thing.
need to be coming down. We need to chop them down. We need to de-stump them and get the roots and pull it up and just throw the whole thing away and burn it. I promise you, some of us do. Some of us do
Yeah, it's
because
so.
the seeds that built it,
Yeah.
you know, and so now the tree isn't even productive. You know what I'm saying? The fruit that it bears is corrupt.
Yeah.
It's contaminated. Okay, some of it you can eat, some of it you can't. You got to look
Most of it you can't.
right. And so sometimes we just need to throw the whole tree down and replant and start all over again.
And yeah, you're right about that. And it's so true. And do you know that a lot of harmful things that were said when children were children, they're now adults and they're committing suicide because it's never been dealt with. That they are extremely emotional. because it's never been dealt with. And if you ask them, where's this coming from? They'll tell you, I don't know. And it stems back to disappointment as a young child. It stems back to, we can go as far as divorce and what divorce does to children. Divorce is very harmful. Now, there are certain instances where the child will be like, mm-mm, my mom and dad needed to separate, you know. But on a whole, most time it's a mental tragedy that happens to a child when they come from a home that's divorced, that their parents become divorced, because it shatters what they thought was a perfect life. You know, they're just happy to have their mom and dad. And I was watching a clip of something Ashley sent me last night, and it was a father. It's an old show. I never even heard of it or seen it, but it was like, I'm back again after 7 years or something like that. And in this clip, the daughter was 2 years old when the father left, so she didn't know what the father was like, and she always wanted the father to come back. And then the son, and never said how old he was. He was old, and he was like, "You don't know what it was like when Daddy was here, and Daddy, you know." But they really didn't know. Neither one of them knew him. And he shows up at the door the day before the mother's about to be remarried. They thought he was dead. And he shows up, and now he wants to be the husband and father he never was. That's detrimental. That affects the life, not just of the child, but since we're talking about childhood, that's probably the little 2 year old. She was happy at, she was 9 now, and the brother only looked like he was about 10 or 11. But to see your dad come back, you don't want your mom to marry this man because he's not your dad, all that stuff really plays with the psyche of a child, you know. And there's just so many things that we as an adults now have to deal with from childhood in order to get out, and what they say, get your life together, in order for us to really come to a place of maturity in our lives. Doesn't mean you're not mature, it doesn't mean you're not an adult, but it means what is your life like as an adult? How are you living as an adult? Are you still living as that? Because people stop growing at different ages of childhood. You could speak to someone and say, oh, they stopped growing at 8 years old. You could speak to someone else and you could tell when they stop growing, stop living mentally. You know.
I that reminded me when you said they stopped growing. They're stuck at 8. Something happened. They're stuck at 12. I had a dream um, 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, and I was telling Gigi about the dream. And in the dream, there was a little girl that I was holding close. She was right there. I was holding her close to me, and when things would happen in the dream, she was still right there, close to me. And as I was telling Gigi about this dream, I was like, I don't know who this little girl was. I don't know why she was there. I'm like, I'm too old to have a child, so I don't. It didn't seem like she was my granddaughter or anything like that. I was like, I don't know who this little girl is. But as I told Gigi about the dream and whatnot, and it was so profound, she said, Mom, that little girl is probably you, that you were holding on to and trying to protect. Right? So, yeah, the little girl, Wanda, had a lot of hurt, a lot of disappointment, a lot of rejection, a lot of abandonment, a lot of hard words that were spoken to her. You can't cook, your legs are ugly, you're never going to be anything, you know. Instead of having people pour into you and build you up and encourage you and strengthen you, you know, I didn't get a lot of that. And so when she said that, I was like, wow, you know, I still have this little girl subconsciously that I'm trying to protect from being hurt, you know. Um, I think a lot of us, you know, try to protect ourselves from what we went through when we were children because of the words that were said to us. Yeah.
And that's a good point. And one thing we know about dreams is when Yahweh is trying to get you to handle something, deal with you, it's coming through your dreams. And that was interesting that your daughter picked up on it, and it does happen a lot. And one of the words that I want to address before we get off, um, but I can't move past that part where you said about protecting. A lot of people that are moving harshly, moving seems like just crazy, is trying to protect what they know, trying to protect themselves. It's just like an older sister or brother protecting their family, their sisters and their brothers from all that they've gone through and all that they're going through. I know a family that uh, the children, the oldest daughter and one of the children saw the father blow the mother's head off. And still to today, they don't realize that they're still trying to protect themselves from that point that happened. It had never really been dealt with. So the way that they respond and act to things is because of that stress, that mental stress, that trauma of trying to deal with something that haunts you the rest of your life. You close your eyes, you see it. You're sitting down thinking and you're seeing it. And your emotional state is damaged because of that, if that the effect of that. Like you said, we don't know what people go through. We don't know their home situation. We can go to an adult and say the same thing. Adults respond to the way that they're treated or what they go through. I was listening to Miles Monroe, and one of the things he said, you can tell what your wife feels by the way she responds, how she responds to people, how she responds to you, that there are telltale signs. There are always telltale signs of what we go through and how we go through it. Telltale signs. There's probably a bunch of them that I haven't even recognized in me that needs to be dealt with. And the reason why we're talking about it is because it's time to deal with it. We cannot go through life struggling with things in the past. And I'm saying this in the past because there's nothing you can do about what's happened in the past. So you have to make sense of it. I don't even know if that's the correct word. You have to bring um, some, um, I don't know, you have to bring it to the forefront. Why do I act this way? What is it that makes me respond the way I respond? What has happened in my life? When you go back, it's most times it's something that happened when you're young. And what happens is whatever happened when you're young or whatever you're used to as a young person in your house, that's usually who and why you're attracted to the person you are because of something that has the experiences you have had as a child. I don't know if I'm making any sense or not, but um,
No, you're good. Most of us, we have to take a look and see, even in our adult lives, even today, there are certain ways we respond to things. There are still certain things that kind of trigger us. There are still certain things that will make us say this or say that. There are still some things that we say to ourselves that somehow we've made ourselves to believe that it's true.
Yeah.
We don't always speak about ourselves in a positive way. I know that I don't. I don't. And that stems from what I have been exposed to. Do we grow? Have we gotten better at it? Absolutely. But we must be so careful about what we think about ourselves and what we say about ourselves. Because what a man purposes in his heart, so is he. So we have to clean up, even, and I'm speaking about myself as well as I'm saying it. We have to clean up the way we even think about ourselves. Sometimes I'll doubt my intellect. And in my head, I'm thinking, I don't even know why I'm trying to do this. I'm not smart enough. Or I don't speak as well as the other people. I listen. They're so eloquent when they speak. I don't speak as well. Those are things that I'm thinking, and if I think it long enough, soon enough, it's going to come out of my mouth. And I used to tell my children all the time, you can be whatever you want to be. You just got to work at it. The sky literally is the limit. If you want it, you can do it. You can have it. But then when it comes to me, you know, I don't always see, I can be honest and say, I don't always see what others see. I don't always see myself as this person that can achieve the things that I want to achieve. So even today, as we talk about how harmful words affect your life, we're talking about how the things that we say, the things that we think, because what's in our heart will show up in your thoughts, and how we think about ourselves, and then how it eventually will come out of our mouths. We better and realizing who our creator is, and that we don't say it just to be saying it. And I have to get it in my head that I am literally created in his image and in his likeness. And anything that I am lacking, he has the power to give me. If there is an area that I feel like is not my best, then Wanda, what can you do to improve it? And do you know, a lot of times the things that we think aren't the truth anyway. They really are not the truth. So we have to practice speaking well of ourselves. When a thought comes, let's say it's a guy that you see and you think he's cute, and you and somebody might say, oh, I think he's looking at you. He might be, now why would he be interested in me? He don't want nobody like me. Da 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 da. We gotta stop that. I've done that. What's wrong with me? We have to stop that. Recognize where it comes from. Deal with that. And then let's practice thinking well of ourselves and speaking well of ourselves, because we live in a voice activated kingdom. So what we speak happens. So we got to do better.
Yes, we do. We really do, because we are hindering the better part of ourselves, what Yahweh has for us, because we get stuck on what was. We get stuck on what we think, as you said. And most times, what we think is not the way it really is. So, even as you go through today and think about yourself, think on the, what's that? Good things. Think on those things. He tells us in His Word what to think on. And that includes how we think about ourselves, and that we have to begin to see ourselves as He's created us. He's created, when He finished with us, He's like, yeah, that's good. I like this. I like that. I like her. I like him. So we do really have to work on ourselves and begin to speak well of ourselves, just like we force ourselves a lot of time to speak well of other people. We might know some things about them, but through it all, we want to speak well of them. And it takes time, but just like you have to speak well of someone else, you got to speak well of yourself. Stop disliking yourself. Stop this thinking that you're not, like Minister Wanda said, and that goes for me as well. You're not good enough. You don't have what it takes. You don't belong in this group. All these different things that the enemy does to bring you to a place that you would not prosper, or you would not begin to really thrive. It's time to thrive and not just live. And so until we meet again next week, pay attention to your thoughts about yourself, not other people. Begin to focus on yourself and see how things will turn out. Until we meet again, have an amazing, amazing day.
Be
And
phenomenal.
remember,
Be
uh, be phenomenal. And I've just been ready to say, you are worth it. Have a great day.